Metabolic problems like hypothyroidism, hypokalemia, hypercalcemia, all these are known also to give rise to constipation. So ideally that should be part of the investigation. Hirschsprung disease is a surgical cause. The first time I am talking about surgery. It is aganglionosis. Now what happens is normally in the colon there are what is known as ganglion cells. Now the colon has a habit of contracting and relaxing, and that's how the stool is pushed forward and down and out. Now in aganglionosis, the relaxation of the bowel does not occur because there are no ganglion cells. So it is in a state of constant, something like a spasm, and therefore the stool cannot progress beyond that part, and which is why they go into constipation. Now if this is the cause, there is no other option but surgery in which you get rid of the abnormal bowel and anastomose the normal to the normal bowel. Intestinal neuronal dysplasia is something very similar to Hirschsprung, but we most of the times land up doing surgery for this because we are not able to diagnose it properly because they need special dye, special staining, which nobody if at all does in Mumbai. In hypothyroid children, you will also have bradycardia, poor growth, large fontanelles, along with constipation. And then if you see the TSH, T3, T4 level, it will probably confirm that this is hypothyroid. You check that and mostly be constipation. But along with that, again, diet would be essential. Medication like anticonvulsant, diuretics, sucralfates, antacids, iron preparation, some of them, anticholinergics, antitussive, codeine. Very often we give codeine for the cough suppressant, and that over a period of days can lead to constipation. So be careful when you are giving a medication that may aggravate the constipation if it is already present. Again, history taking, ideally you should go back to birth because Hirschsprung is a congenital megacolon, whereas all others are the acquired megacolon. So congenital megacolon, mega is huge colon. Congenital megacolon will tell you, if the parents remember, that the first passage of stool after birth, which was meconium, black in color, was usually delayed up to 48 hours. If it occurs in less than 48 hours or within the first 24 hours, the chances are less. Then sometimes the constipation can occur as a sort of a reaction which, for gastroenteritis, you are giving a lot of anticholinergics and constipatory things, and then it goes into an overdose and that goes into a problem. What is the frequency of bowel movement? Is there painful defecation, which is why the child prefers not to pass stool? Is there bleeding after the stool associated with the constipation? Is there fecal soiling, which means it's like a enteroparesis, which is incontinence with overflow? And what are the medications given? See, in painful defecation, the causes could be either a poor toilet training, where the parents are very strict or excessively hyper about toilet training, or there are changes in the routine or diet. As I said, when they start going to school, suddenly there is a hurry, so there is no time, so okay, have milk and go, then lunch you can have whatever you want, guys. Any stressful events in the family or in the school or something, intercurrent illness like typhoid or major illness, where they are suddenly put on Nilbamouth, IV fluids, antibiotics, lot of medications have been given, they lose their appetite, stop eating properly and then go into constipation. Many times this is another part which toilet smell. So my child, even if he wishes to, does not go to the bathroom in the school, is what parents tell us. And that you need to, I don't have a solution for that, but maybe you need to talk to the school authorities and check out what exactly is the problem. And of course, postponing defecation because the child is watching his favorite serial or the IPL match, or he is playing somewhere and says, oh, I'm getting the urge, but let me hold on, I have to finish batting and then I'll go back. So all these things also are the beginning of the constipation. Then there are those children who have a fear of defecation. They get scared that if I pass stool, it's going to hurt. There is also a psychological thing that if I am passing stool, I am giving up something of mine to the exterior, so they also try to hold back the stool. So all these things also play a role in the constipation. And the typical way of showing is that the child will rise on the toes, keep holding, rocks back, goes to the corner, turns to the wall, crosses the legs, will refuse to sit on the potty. If at all, he will pass stool in the standing position. All these are signs of trying to prevent defecation rather than doing these to pass stool. Parents always think that he does all these things just to pass stool. I said, no, he is trying to avoid passing stool, but he has no choice but the stool comes out. So these are the things which will tell you that there is a problem in defecation, painful, whatever it is, and therefore be careful and check out the diet and the bleeding and the rectal examination. Abdominal examination, inspection of the perineum and the perianal region is very important. Spine again for any spina bifida, occulta, neurological examination to rule out any neurogenic problem, and as I said, for rectal examination. So by the time the child leaves your consulting room, you must be able to say, "Maine kiya." Treatment is basically education of the family. This infection of the stool, believe me, I have done it on 3 occasions where there was just no response to any medication, enema, etc. And I had to take the child under general anesthesia, put in my finger and literally evacuate the bowel because it was stuck there. The stool was just stuck there hard as a mass, and there was no way it was going to come out except by manual evacuation. Maintenance and then follow-up. Education is importance of diet, type of the diet to be given. And I am not going to talk about diet because we don't have that much time. A positive approach to the child. Don't ever be negative that you are like this, you are like that. No. Try to encourage the child to go into the good habits rather than try to point out the bad habits. Explain in an older child what are the problems of constipation. Like this was the child where I had to physically evacuate such a lot of bowel in a 3-year-old boy. So therefore, besides medications, you may have to do a manual evacuation. Medications, of course, enemas are a good. I said I need to give you 3 to 4 enemas in a day for the next 2 days and completely evacuate your bowel, and then only we will do the needful. So enemas to be given 3, 4, 5 times in a day or over a period of 2-3 days, and then they will never pass stool unless you keep giving them for the rest of their life. It does not happen. But you may need to give these laxatives for a long period, especially in a chronic constipation, to get the bowel going, and then gradually withdraw them. Diet has to be very strictly regulated. Behavior modification, because you train them every day, fixed time, 40 is what I call it. So I said, as per your family norms, see what time is a convenient time. Fixed time, when it rings at 7:30, he must be on the potty. I don't care whether he feels like or not. And at times, we may even have to be forced to give an enema if he does not or she does not pass stool at that 7:30, so that they get it into their head that yes, 7:30 is my potty time. Laxatives to be given. Of course, these are the laxatives which are commonly used, whether it's mineral oil, that is climacrin or lactulose or milk of magnesia or magnesium hydroxide, sorbitol, senna, etc. Now, the lubricants, the osmotic laxatives or the stimulant laxatives, we rarely give the stimulant laxatives in children because they are too severe. I would prefer the osmotic laxatives or even the lubricants. And then we come to the real surgical cause, which is Hirschsprung's. Now this is, as I said, congenital due to the absence of ganglion cells with hypertrophy of the nerve bundle. Delayed passage of meconium is very important in the history. Constipation will be there from birth, sort of. There may be abdominal distension. For rectal examination, unlike in acquired constipation where as soon as your finger goes in, you hit the stools, there you will find an empty rectum, and then right at the top you will find some amount. Now the empty rectum is that part which is aganglionic, which is collapsed. And your finger going in will now cause it to dilate. So if you are suspecting Hirschsprung, don't do per rectal like this, do it this way. Because when you remove your finger, a whole lot of flatus and feces may come out. So if you are doing it this way, it will come on your clothes. So be careful if you are suspecting Hirschsprung when you are doing upper rectal examination. No medical treatment in Hirschsprung will work except temporarily, and surgery is the only therapy available. Now, in order to diagnose Hirschsprung, there are basically two ideal ones. The third one, if available, barium enema. The reason I have written done by me is not me as me, but to be done by a surgeon ideally is because when you ask the radiologist, with due respect to all radiologists, that when you ask them to do it, they fill up the entire colon. I am not interested in the entire colon. If it is a short segment Hirschsprung, it is going to be at rectosigmoid junction that the A ganglionosis will disappear. So as soon as we start doing it under image intensifier, as soon as you see the coning or the broadening, you stop the flow of barium. You don't need to put more barium. You have caught the place where the narrow and the dilated colon are at the junction, and you don't need to go further and see how the colon looks like. So you stop it, take X-ray, remove the catheter, take it lateral, take an X-ray, send him home. Ideal would be after 24 hours, take one plain X-ray, see that there is still barium in the rectum, proves that this is commonly Hirschsprung. Rectal biopsy, taking a full thickness rectal biopsy under anesthesia and sending it for histopathology is the next best thing, which will give you absence of ganglion cells, hypertrophy of the nerve bundle, proves that this is Hirschsprung. If, and there is one center which is one or two centers in Mumbai which are doing this anorectal manometry and pressure studies. If they are less invasive than a rectal biopsy, so if that can give you a definite diagnosis worthwhile, but ultimately you need to do biopsies to know at what level the Hirschsprung is ending, so that beyond that the bowel is normal, which has to be brought down. CT MRI for spine may be required in case you are suspecting a tethered cord or one of those kind of things. This is the classical Hirschsprung where it is narrow and then suddenly it blows up on top. So what we need to do is just show the coning, as they call it, where it starts broadening, and that's the only thing that remains to be done for barium enema. And surgery, of course, I am not going to go into the types of surgeries we do, but excision of the affected segment, anastomosis of the normal to normal. And it can be done in single stage or in multi-stage. Now that depends on what is your experience, not only in doing it, but in your complications of single versus multiple. Now the basic thing here, last one, is how to differentiate whether it is functional constipation that is acquired from congenital. In congenital or Hirschsprung, it will start from birth. There will not be, or rarely will there be, a fecal soiling, because the terminal part of the rectum is aganglion and it will be closed, so there won't be much of overflow. There may be a fecal mass above the rectum in case of a Hirschsprung, because the rectum is totally collapsed. Retentive posturing will not be there, trying to hold the stool back, trying to cross the legs, that won't be there in Hirschsprung. Passage of a large stool is typically more in terms of a acquired constipation. There will be no passage of flatus or feces in Hirschsprung, whereas flatus may still be passed in a child who has got acquired constipation. And again, painful defecation is more in terms of an acquired constipation than in terms of Hirschsprung.